Everyone in the neighborhood knew Jake Miller as the guy who never caught a break. A single dad in his mid-30s, Jake lived in a small rented house on the edge of town with his 8-year-old son, Noah. Life hadn't turned out the way he planned. His wife had passed away suddenly 3 years earlier, leaving him with grief, debt, and a child who depended on him for everything. Jake worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. During the day, he fixed cars at a small local garage. At night, he stocked shelves at a grocery store. Sleep was a luxury he rarely enjoyed. Despite everything, Jake had one thing he never lost: his kindness. He believed that helping others, even when you had little yourself, was the only way to stay human in a hard world. One late afternoon, as Jake was closing up the garage, he noticed a classic black Mustang pulled over across the street. The hood was up, and a woman stood beside it, clearly frustrated. She was dressed simply, jeans and a jacket, nothing that screamed wealth or importance. Most people would have ignored her. Jake almost did too. He was exhausted, his feet hurt, and Noah was waiting for him at home. But something about the way she stared at the engine, biting her lip in worry, made him pause. He walked over and asked if she needed help. The woman looked surprised, then relieved. She said the car had suddenly died, and she had no idea why. She had already called roadside assistance, but they told her it would take hours. Jake glanced at the engine and smiled gently. He told her he was a mechanic and could take a quick look. She hesitated at first, probably worried about the cost, and admitted she didn't have much cash on her. Jake waved it off and said he'd help anyway. As he worked on the Mustang, Jake explained what he was doing in simple terms. It turned out to be a small but tricky issue with the fuel system. His hands moved with confidence, even though his clothes were stained with oil and his face showed signs of constant fatigue. Within 30 minutes, the engine roared back to life. The woman's eyes widened in disbelief. She thanked him over and over, offering to pay whatever she could. Jake shook his head and told her to just drive safely. Before leaving, she asked his name. When he told her, she smiled in a way that felt thoughtful, almost curious. A week passed. Jake forgot about the encounter. Life moved on as usual: bills, long shifts, and late-night talks with Noah about school and dreams. Then one morning, something unexpected happened. A black SUV pulled up outside the garage. 2 men in suits stepped out, followed by the same woman from the Mustang. This time, she looked different. Confident, powerful. The entire garage went silent. She walked straight toward Jake and greeted him warmly. Then she introduced herself properly. Her name was Claire Donovan. What Jake didn't know was that Claire Donovan was the founder and CEO of a global automotive technology company worth billions. She owned factories across 3 continents and had been featured on magazine covers worldwide. That Mustang, it was one of the few things she drove herself, a reminder of simpler days. Claire explained that she had been testing people, not intentionally, but life had a way of revealing character. She said that in all her success, genuine kindness had become rare. Most people treated her differently once they knew who she was. But Jake had helped her when he thought she was just a stranded stranger with no money. She told him she had looked him up. She knew about his wife, about Noah, about his struggles. Then she made him an offer that left him speechless. Claire wanted Jake to work for her company, not as a mechanic, but as a lead operations manager at a new facility she was opening nearby. The salary alone was more than Jake had earned in 5 years combined. On top of that, she offered full benefits, flexible hours so he could be there for his son, and even a scholarship fund for Noah's future education. Jake thought it was a joke. He laughed nervously and said she must be mistaken. But Claire was serious. She told him skills could be taught, but integrity couldn't. She wanted people like him in her company. Tears filled Jake's eyes. For the first time in years, he felt hope, not the fragile kind, but real, solid hope. Jake accepted. Months later, his life looked completely different. He moved into a modest but comfortable home. Noah had his own room, filled with books and toys. Jake no longer worked himself to exhaustion. He still got his hands dirty sometimes, because he loved cars, but now he also helped run a facility that provided hundreds of jobs to people just like him. Jake never forgot where he came from. And Claire never forgot why she chose him. Sometimes, kindness doesn't just change one moment. Sometimes, it changes an entire life. All because a struggling single dad chose to help a stranger fix her Mustang.